Time to talk AFL. Alex Caiafa joins us on TheInformer. Mate, what a week it's been, and some fantastic results. We'll go through the special one, Carlton Freo, in a moment, but before that, Sydney and the Giants played a pretty good game. What did you make of that?
Yeah, there's something going on with GWS. I don't know what it is, but they're so out of sync, and Sydney made them pay. From the get-go, they just looked more awake. They just controlled the ball a lot better, and yeah, very, very unlike GWS.
Speaking about controlling the play, Port Adelaide ran into a thunder beast from Geelong. The Cats were, wow, they were special. They knocked them. Did they hurt their aspirations for an AFL title, you think?
I think they did a little bit. Geelong were just amazing.
Where have they been hiding that form?
From the moment the ball was bounced, they just ran all over the top of them. Dangerfield was huge. Hawkins kicking the 5 goals. That was massive as well, and they've been super.
So does this step up the efforts now of the South Australian government to make sure the AFL Grand Final will be held in South Australia?
I reckon they'll really be pushing for it now with Port Adelaide.
Because they had to play that, of course, at Metricon, didn't they? All right, North Melbourne and the Lions, again, a very much closer game than the one you imagined.
Yeah, well, I personally thought Brisbane were going to cruise and make it pretty easy. But North Melbourne fought really hard, and those young guns showed a little bit there. And Brisbane, again, their inaccurate kicking almost cost them in the end. So. And
you heard Fagan, he got very antsy at half-time, reminded them all that they were playing football at home and they needed to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Collingwood and Melbourne, I didn't see this coming.
Yeah,
Did you see it? Did you see the Demons get this nasty and this good?
Well, I didn't. Well, from the get-go, Melbourne looked awake, they looked ready, and they put the first 3 goals in the game through. And yeah, you could just tell by then that Melbourne have woken up a little bit. They're starting to get back to that 2018
Well, there's no snow, you see, that's what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, Collingwood have been ravaged with injuries, but at the same time, they didn't play a very good brand of football, and Melbourne made them pay.
And Sidebottom's back playing football for them?
Yeah.
Okay, the other game that I want to go to now is the game that I previewed just a moment ago. I gave you a glimpse of it, and it's the Freo-Carlton game. It was an outstanding contest, made even more remarkable if you're a Navy Blue fan, with the most extraordinary saint-like blessing from a former St Kilda player. Tell us about it, because it was just, oh man.
Well, the game...
Greatest kick in the world.
The game as a whole was a game of halves. So Freo dominated the first half, and then Carlton started to pick it up in the second half. If they could have kicked a little bit better in the third quarter, they kicked 2 goals 5 in the third quarter. If they could have made that 5 goals 2, we're probably talking about a little bit more of a comfortable win. But that last 2-3 minutes of the game was electrifying, and that last kick, it just never looked in doubt. I woke up my entire apartment building from that.
The images for the AFL would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Fox Footy and all the others who covering it would have been delighted to finally have a game of that, not so much that stature, but that sheer delight. That was electric.
Yeah,
that's the sort of stuff that if you're going to send messages, you want everyone to get a hold of it.
I mean, you could see the pure excitement after the goal was kicked. You had the entire team jumping on him, and Cripps looked relieved and just over the top after that win. It felt like a long time coming, and it was good to see.
Okay, what did you make of the little stoush on the corner where the umpires gave the ball to Nunes instead of Gibby?
Probably should have been Gibbons, and the AFL actually corrected that, saying that the free kick was downfield. They got it in the right spot, but it actually should have been Gibbons taking it.
But you have faith in Gibbons.
But I had faith in Gibbons. I've heard numerous things that the players and the coaches have said that he practices those kicks a lot at training. So if Gibbons was to kick it, I would have trusted him.
If Gibbons ever gets a chance and can deliver one like Nunesy, I don't care who kicks them. Yeah. But that's as good a kick as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In the VFL, AFL, I think the best kick I've ever seen is Malcolm Blight, who launched one for North Melbourne years and years and years ago, and reminded people that South Australia had talent too. It was quite stunning to see.
Yeah.
But this was very special. So a win to Carlton. Now David Teague said, heroics aside, we've got to get back to starting to play more reliable football across 4 quarters, which is terrific. Bulldogs and Adelaide, what did you make of that contest?
It was a fairly straightforward game for the Bulldogs. I mean, Adelaide were competitive at the start, and then the Bulldogs, once they got on top in the midfield, they just ran all over the top of them. Norton kicking 6 goals.
Now, we did mention that St Kilda were wanting very much to recover from the week before, the upset before against Port Adelaide.
Yep.
They took on Essendon, the Bombers. Now, Essendon has been proving to be, especially early on, one of those contenders. What's happened to them?
Yeah, they've gone missing a little bit. They've just gone away from what they were doing at the start of the season. Their game plan, just everything. They've got injuries as well, but I mean, every team's got injuries too, so they can't really be an excuse.
They're playing games every other day.
St Kilda played really good football and deserved that.
And did the Eagles play sufficiently good football to upset the Hawks, you think?
It never looked in doubt. They looked pretty comfortable from the get-go. The Eagles, they're flying at Optus.
And the Suns, still playing some good footy, really took it to the Tigers, and the Tigers just did enough to get past.
Yeah, Gold Coast had their chances to, push on and actually, put a winning score and upset the Tigers, but once they couldn't convert, the Tigers class just showed in the end. And
well, the Suns are at it again. They're up against the Navy Blues to start the new round. Let's preview some of that. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's 2 of the upcoming teams in the AFL up against each other again, and it always proves to be a classic game.
Where's it being played?
It's being played at TIO in Darwin.
Darwin.
So
we haven't got Brendan Favola. That's the problem.
It'll be an interesting game. I just think the Blues are going to get up on the back of Gold Coast only having the 3 days off.
Okay.
I think that rest could come into
impact
play
on
here.
them quite sufficiently.
Yeah.
All right, then we've got the other game is the Bulldogs and again the Demons.
Yeah, this will be I think this will be a really, really attacking game. Both teams love to get up and down the ground and put a score on the board. I'm going with Melbourne. I think their form at the moment has just been a little bit better than the Bulldogs, and yeah, you got to back them in.
Hawthorn and Port Adelaide has always been there's always been some sting in it.
Yeah.
What do you reckon this time around?
I think Port Adelaide should bounce back here. Hawthorn have lost Jaeger O'Meara for the season now as well, and it appears that Hawthorn are just on a bit of a decline. And not to mention Sicily going down with the ACL as well. That's their best, one of their best key backmen. So I think that's just going to have a huge toll, and Port Adelaide should bounce back.
All right, Essendon are playing
Richmond.
Yeah.
The Dreamtime in Darwin.
Well, what do you reckon? What's your gut feeling here?
Yeah, gut feelings with the Tigers. I just think they're just a bit, and again, like compared to a lot of other teams, they're just a class above.
Right. So the next game?
We got Fremantle against Sydney at Optus Stadium. And that's proving to be an interesting one too, because Freo, they're coming off heartbreak. Sydney are coming off a real impressive win against GWS, but Sydney have lost their All-Australian backman now in Dane Rampy for the season, and I think that's going to be that could be a very big out. So I'm tipping Fremantle to bounce back here.
Okay. The next?
Yeah, we got Adelaide against Geelong down at Adelaide Oval. I think that's pretty straightforward the way Geelong are rolling at the moment. There's been a bit of news that Joel Selwood might miss, but I think in a game against Adelaide and how poor they've been, I don't think it's too much of a worry.
What's been the biggest surprise thus far of the AFL season?
The biggest surprise, I don't think for me, I didn't think Adelaide were going to be this bad.
Okay.
That's one of the big surprises for me.
And the biggest plus that you've seen of the AFL?
It's been competitive. It's not like the top 8 teams are running away with it, and then we've got the bottom 8 teams. There's still a number of teams that can make the finals.
Do you think the schedule is playing into that to keep those teams a bit more competitive?
Well, had
they had 2 weeks or a week, for example, to recover, we'd be seeing some different results. Yeah,
well, the shorter breaks means teams' depth are getting tested now, which means it could make more competitive games. So I haven't minded this footy frenzy. It's been different for all of us. It's something we're not used to. We've never seen it before, but it's making it very competitive and very interesting to watch.
And have your neighbours forgiven you for waking them up?
Probably not, but they'll smile.
Alex Caiafa talking AFL.
Thanks.